lot of trust that a person has to put into you in order to take that leap. That's why the relationship matters, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing something on a whim. I'm gonna pack my bags. I'm gonna travel to one of 4 training installations. I'm gonna start a journey you're not gonna be there for, so I gotta trust that you're sending me to the place that's gonna train me. And then for the next 3 to 6 years, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, that's a trust.
Live from the field, it's the call-up with J.W. Hand.
Hey everybody, this is Jay with the call-up. Today I'm sitting down with First Sergeant Cousino. This conversation naturally turned into 2 parts. So this is part 1 of our discussion about leadership, family, and his experience that shaped his Army career. Hope you enjoy. All right. Hello everyone, welcome to the call-up with J.W. Hand. This is a show about the people behind Army recruiting and getting their stories. Today I'm sitting with the First Sergeant.
The First Sergeant.
The First Sergeant.
No, just kidding.
No, yeah, hey.
I'll be humble.
You don't have to be humble, you know. He is the First Sergeant of the Fayetteville Recruiting Company, Sean Cousino. We're going to find out a little bit about him and about what goes on behind the scenes here in Army recruiting land. So tell us where you come from originally.
Originally, Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo, Ohio? Okay.
Yeah, the northern portion before you get to Michigan, you know.
Okay.
So it's good, and then you get to Michigan, it's bad. So, but yeah, no, Toledo, Ohio. That's where I grew up.
It's been your whole life there?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay. You have any military members in your family?
No, I have my grandpa. My grandpa was in Korea at that time frame, but other than him, it was me. Just me, like spearheading that whole campaign there, I guess.
What made you want to join?
On the surface, it was probably college, money, financing. Below that, personally, I was a young 18-year-old with zero direction. Zero, maybe ambition in all the wrong ways, but I didn't know where I was going. So I just needed something, and I grasped onto the college money aspect. Give me a contract, get out, get a degree, figure it out from there, jump and figure it out on the way down. But yeah, probably just needed some direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you walked into a recruiting station one day.
Recruiter was at my house. He was actually recruiting my brother, who was like end of his junior year. I was getting ready to graduate. He was there, practice tested, the whole spiel, sitting with mom, dad, 17-year-old, like by the book. Like looking back, I didn't know what recruiting was then, but by going to the ARC and going to recruiting school, looking, I was like, man, the dude like hit every check block, and hit it, and he was just like, do you want to take the practice test? And I'm like sitting there like, yeah, no, I have no intention of joining the Army at this point in time. And I took it, and he was like, pretty good score, man. And he hooked me, wrapped me in, and that summer I ended up walking back in there and said, hey, yeah, you told me about that college. I didn't sign there.
So
like,
so you were in high school when your brother was taking the test, or
yeah.
were you okay?
Yeah. So I was still, messing around in high school, no real plan. And then that summer I walked back and it's like, yeah, let me hear about that college money again, right? And then he already had all my info, so it was smooth sailing from there. September, it was July, talked to him August. September, took the ASVAB, did the physical. 2 weeks later, I was back in Fort Benning, ready to go.
Active duty, full.
Yep, whole time. Active duty. We didn't talk about the reserve. I didn't even know the reserve was a thing, right?
I hear that a lot. Yeah.
It was 2005, so heart of the GWAT, and then it was active duty. Had the better benefits, I guess. He didn't. I couldn't tell you if he even said the word reserve at all in this conversation. Yeah, active duty infantryman. He was an infantryman, so I probably modeled a lot of it off of the decision making from there. Then $20,000 cash bonus really spoke to the 18-year-old heart that I had. So I was like, yeah, let me do that. Let me go to. I did Germany as my first choice of assignment. I had the whole thing lined up, so it was good.
What was the job?
Infantryman.
Infantry.
Yeah. So infantry, $20K bonus off the jump, and you're going to Germany. I was like, yeah, that sounds great.
So you went to Germany. What was your unit?
My unit was in the 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red One, the 26th Infantry Battalion, and I was in Charlie Company. I mean, if you want to break it down. So I started off as a machine gunner. I'm a bigger dude, can carry heavy weight. They just said, this is yours now. Congratulations. And then, from there, I was the team leader, Bradley fighting vehicle gunner for a while, and then a Bradley commander. So all in that 4.5 years I was there.
Okay. So was that your only infantry assignment?
No.
Okay.
No, after I did 2 tours to Iraq from Germany in 2006 and then one in 2008. Then I PCS'd and did a TRADOC assignment for 2 years at the Bradley and Stryker Schoolhouse at Fort Benning. Did that for 24 months, and then I went to Fort Campbell from there. And I was with the 101st. I was a rifle squad leader, weapons squad leader, and platoon sergeant there for all infantry assignments.
Okay, so 101st, that means you were at Fort Campbell.
Yep, Fort Campbell. It was great. I miss Fort Campbell.
What do you miss about Fort Campbell?
The area is good. You're right there on the border, Tennessee, Kentucky. Nashville's not too far away, and then you're an infantryman at Fort Campbell, right? You live. I used to joke around and say I visited home at Fort Campbell, right? Because you're training to just the next action, the next fight that you're going to go to, whether it was Afghanistan at the time or you're just getting ready for the future America's fight. You're an infantryman at Fort Campbell. It's great. Got helicopters flying all over the place. You're fast roping, you're rappelling, you're doing anything you want to do, you can do at Fort Campbell.
Did you do anything like crazy different at Fort Campbell than it was in Germany?
Yeah, I think Germany we did cool stuff on Bradley's, but it's just so you have your own training area, but it's traveling to the training area. You're going to Hohenfels, you're going to Graf, and there's a lot more logistically involved in moving around Germany than it is in Fort Campbell's like load the truck. We're just going to go to the woods and go run around, right? So it's just a lot easier being home.
You felt like you were really a part of the culture at that point.
Yeah, and then 101st is a great way of just making it. It's kind of like being here in Fort Bragg. Like, it's your 82nd, and that's the culture. And the same thing in the 101st.
Yeah, it's just something being part of the 101st that people know that it's one of those organizations that everyone knows about.
Yeah, don't disgrace it, right? You're going to lose your patch and find a new job. But,
so
yeah, that was...
what's... I know you mentioned TRADOC. For people that don't know what a TRADOC assignment is, what's different than that than the other organizations that we talked about?
In my role, I was a supporting in a supporting company for a schoolhouse. So the primary thing that we did was train non-commissioned officers and officers on how to utilize and employ the Bradley Bradley fighting vehicle and the Strykers, right? So that's what we did 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, was train students on how to, when those leaders got back to the units, they were ready to go. Right, so we got the brand new lieutenants that were going to Stryker units, brand new lieutenants that were going to Bradley units, and then all the non-commissioned officers that were trying to be master gunners or Stryker master trainers. So we just made sure they were trained and ready to go. And me in the supporting role, we were the vehicles that would come out while we supplied the drivers for the lieutenants so they could command their vehicles, and then we would shoot our gunneries for the master gunners to walk us through and make sure that they were good.
So what do you do after Fort Campbell?
Fort Campbell, I went recruiting.
Okay, so that
was the end of my infantry saga.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. Your call up. You were called up to recruiting. Did you volunteer? Or were you DA selected?
No. What I did was I volunteered to go back to Europe, and I said, "Hey, Branch," I sent an email out and said I want to be an airborne platoon sergeant in Vicenza, Italy, and they emailed me back and said you're going to recruiting. And I was like, that's the opposite of what I wanted.
So you were already airborne qualified?
Yeah. At that point in time, I was airborne, air assault. I was a Pathfinder and a Bradley master gunner. So I had been to all the infantry schools except for Ranger and Sniper and all those other cool ones that scare me. So, by the way, deep down, fear failure. So when it's like you could fail Ranger school, like, yeah, I'm probably not going to go and do that, buddy. It's just one of those things that's not with me. But yeah, I was DA select from the jump with recruiting.
So, what was it like to get that call that you're going to recruiting school?
I had a feeling it wasn't impactful. I had a feeling it was coming. I was happy it wasn't drill sergeant.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Because that's just not my. I love training. I don't want to do the initial training piece. I'm not a yeller. It's not me. So putting the hat on there and trying to create new soldiers just wasn't. I don't think I would have been as passionate as I was about recruiting. So I wasn't. You were going to get all of me out of being a drill sergeant. That was me. I would rather go back, be the recruiter that changed me, right? Put me on the path. That's what I wanted to do. So
did you think back at all about that moment when your recruiter was with your brother and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, probably not at first when I was a recruiter, because you're learning the beat and trying to just figure out how to make the next phone call without being rejected again. But I did think back, and it changed me. It shaped my whole family's life, and it changed everything, right? So put me on a career path that's now 20 years into it, right? So it's like, that person set me back, and I think my impact as a recruiter was going to be larger than my impact as a drill sergeant, right? Even though, they train hundreds of thousands of people every year. The drill sergeant is a key player in the game, nothing against that.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But if I'm not going to be 100% passionate about it, I'd rather do the other thing, right? So that's where...
It's a tough, demanding job, but you got to have that heart there for it, absolutely.
Yeah. And there are some people that want to do nothing but be a drill sergeant. I love it for them, but it wasn't going to be me. Put me on the streets. But yeah, so I got that email. I was coming out of the platoon sergeant thing, as a disgruntled infantryman. It's not the great thing, but I was accepting, I never told the Army no. So here's your next assignment. Let's go be the best at that, even if I didn't want to necessarily do that. And I said, hey, I want to go to Cleveland Battalion to be a recruiter. They put me in Toledo Company, so I got to go back home. I wasn't necessarily recruiting in home. I was recruiting in Fremont, Ohio, which is right off of Lake Erie out there between Sandusky and Toledo, so it wasn't too bad. But I felt like bringing it back home, bringing the message home, helping people out that I was familiar with, right, where they were going through, the decisions they were making, the options they had available, especially, in some places that don't, if you look Midwest, it's covered with industry, right? So you got factory life, every automotive factory, every, food factory, whatever the case may be, that's Ohio in a nutshell, union driven. And I was like, yeah, you do that or you go to college, right? Most people have a family member that worked for Jeep or worked for Ford or worked for, some motor company, and that's usually their shoe into their next career path, and then they're on shift for the next 20, 30 years of their life. And, I wanted to present the other option, right? If you can't afford college, you can go here, right? You can go to college, you can get this money, you can have a different career. It doesn't have to be that way. Nothing wrong with factory life, nothing wrong with the union business, nothing wrong with that. They make money, and there are people that just live that life, and but it's not for everybody. It wasn't for me. I had a lot of family members that worked for Powertrain, Jeep, and Chrysler, all those places, even Dana, and I was like, yeah, that's not my life. I wasn't going to do that, so I wanted to do something else. It was great. It got me out of Ohio for a little bit. Got to learn. So going back there, I was there in Fremont for probably 18 months when I decided I was going to reclassify and become a full-time recruiter, and just I wanted to be a station commander. I wanted to go run a recruiting station. I wanted to show people what right looked like in a recruiting, and that this job could be hospitable, and you can be passionate about it, and you don't have to stay. You don't provide that quality leader to those organizations.
So let's talk a little more about that. Why did you think it was important for you to become a station commander and show people what right looked like and why things were hospitable? What does that mean to you?
It meant like if I told myself, I'll digress a little bit. If I could still provide an impact somewhere, I was going to keep doing that one thing. I even said that when I hit the 20-year mark this year for the career, and everyone's like, "You're going to retire." I was like, when I'm not passionate about it anymore, right? And then I'll leave. I was like, there will be a sign somewhere that says it's time to go, right? You can't keep up with the young ones anymore. You can't do this anymore physically. You can't do this anymore mentally. Like, when I become not passionate about it, I'll go. I'll hang it up. But I don't have that sign yet. So then it was cool. Can you provide an impact as a station commander? Can you make a difference in this organization that is uniquely outlined, right? USREC is completely different. We're USARD now, right? USARD, USREC, completely different from the rest of the Army. Like, you're away from the flagpole generally, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're out there on your own. You have to be able to work autonomously. You're not going to get direction every single day. So here's your orders, here at the end state, go. And I love that aspect of USREC. That's my favorite part of it, is like, just tell me where you want me to be, and I'm going to figure out how to get there. Right, so can I go and provide that impact to people that are just trying to learn it? Yeah, that's why really I wanted to stay. It was like, I can be that person that shapes an organization for the better. Let me go and do that. And I've tried to do that everywhere, even if it failed. And I have failed at recruiting.
I think you kind of glossed over something though that I would like to circle back to, about the leadership side of it though too, about leading the recruiting stations.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk a little more about that?
Absolutely. The autonomous factor, the mission command side of things, or where do you want to live at?
Well, being a station commander, and why it was important to you to lead a recruiting station.
Okay.
I mean, you could even look at it from a first sergeant's perspective too. Why it's important to be a good leader in recruiting.
Be the change agent, I want to be that person that's at the point of most friction. I'm the person that I can count on to make the right decision. I'm the person that I believe is the best to guide somebody. And that can be taken as, maybe too confident, but I'd rather have myself there making the decision and guiding somebody else than somebody else there making the wrong decision, if that makes that sense. So I thought I could be impactful as a station commander. I thought I could be the person that changed somebody else's perspective, some disgruntled, detailed recruiter that was coming in there that didn't want to be there, that says, no, it wasn't like the stories that I heard from the former recruiters that came back to the units that said, you're going to hate recruiting, it's going to be a waste of your time, you're not going to be, it's a career ender. Like, I wanted to be the person that showed, like, no, that's not everyone's story, man. Like, you can come out here, you can be successful, you can go back to your Army job, you can be just as successful there, you can get promoted out here. I've been that person forever. It's like, don't think that you're wasting 3 years, man. Let's get you promoted while you're here, right? That's what we're here to do. And then you can go back and be a platoon sergeant or be a squad leader or whatever rank you came out here. That's what's important to me, and that's why I wanted to lead a company too. It was like, I wanted to shape station commanders in the same way. Be the person that shapes your culture and allows people to go back and say, I want people to volunteer to come out to recruiting, right? And not just be handpicked, selected, right? And then come out. I want you to say, yeah, let me go. That's a positive experience for a soldier, a leader that's done with their KD time, their key development time, for anyone that doesn't know, right? Got done being a squad leader, let me go be a recruiter for 2 to 3 years and then go back to the Army, right? Do my job.
Did you have bad station commanders or even bad leaders back in infantry land?
My station commander might watch this podcast, so I'm never going to call him bad, right? No, I had a great station commander. He probably is one that showed me that you can do it a little different than everyone else was doing it, right? Which is Sergeant Major White right now, which is our battalion.
Sergeant Major White was your station commander?
Sergeant Major White was my station commander, right?
He gave us full permission to talk bad about him. We had that conversation.
Which is why no one will ever talk bad about him, right? Like, that's the reverse psychology aspect of that. It's like, yeah, go ahead and say any bad things you want. It's like, yeah, fully knowing I'm not.
We also have him on the. We also have him on the list to get interviewed next. Too.
Yeah, he's got full permission to say bad things about me when I was a recruiter too, right? Because I was not. I was a good recruiter. I would never call myself a great recruiter. I've met great recruiters and they're fantastic, but I was a good recruiter. I didn't need, probably in his eyes, I didn't need as much assistance or help. Like I said, give me the end state. Where do you want me? Hey, you need 3 appointments today? I can go home. I'm all over that, man. I'll get you 3 appointments. It's Monday, right? Like, I'm dialing. But I had a really good station banner. Obviously, he's a sergeant major now. And then my first sergeant in Toledo Company was great. He's also a sergeant major now. And I had a couple bad ones out there. I only had one station commander. That's just the one, and then I was a station commander, and then I had a couple. I'm not gonna say bad. They weren't bad first sergeants. They were. I don't know. I was probably outworking them, which was the honest aspect. Maybe they had distractions going on, or I was moving faster than they were moving, and it was just we were just in line together. And they weren't bad. They didn't distract me from being successful. They weren't taken away from my thing, but I've always shaped my position to not do that. Like, if I become reliant on you, that's great. Hopefully you're help. But I'm trying not to be reliant on that. I'm going to be successful here and meet the end state. So I had great commanders, though. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm lucky, but of the, I don't know, the 3 different recruiting stations, like majority, like 90% of them are just great officers that were selected to come take those positions. And I was in Marion, Ohio, in the middle of nowhere, right? And they were just great all around commanders.
And I'm sure people might not realize this, but 3rd Brigade, which is where you were at, that's a pretty easy place to recruit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's not, being that, I mean, you were in different brigades. A lot of people in different brigades would say that 3rd Brigade is harder to recruit in. 1st Brigade is harder than 3rd Brigade, right? This or that, right? Depending on where you're at, like New York City, I guess you could recruit there. I have always been a firm believer you can build a team to win anywhere. So I don't like to say good or bad. They're different markets. They are significantly different. I chalk it up. I'll give you my experience in 3rd and 2nd, because those are the only 2 brigades I've been in, right? So 3rd Brigade, you had to be a recruiter, right?
And 3rd Brigade, for anyone that's listening that has been here, that's like the Midwest region, northern Midwest region of the United States. Right, yeah, 2nd Brigade's the southeastern United States.
Yeah, you got Ohio, the Michigan, the Pennsylvania, some of West Virginia, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, or not, well, I guess Milwaukee is Wisconsin, but Minnesota, South Dakota. But yeah, so you had to be a recruiter. You had to prospect, right? A lot. You had to get on the phones. You had to reach out. Your market was never going to be in front of you unless you were in like one of those metro areas, and even arguably then, like, it's not in front of you. Like, you still got to reach out and get it. So you had to recruit. You had to interview. You had to be the best interviewer you could be, right? Then I get to 2nd Brigade, and I'm saying you have to be a recruiter, but on a different side, on the admin side. You got to get your people in the Army. Now you got to show them how committed you are to getting them across that line, so it's a different aspect.
So that's another thing that I would love to talk more about. So when you say that you have to show them that you're committed, they're joining for you more than anything, you could say, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be said that way. They are joining.
They want to see that you're committed to their process, that
like,
you're going to work for them.
And then that's brigade in Marshall or whatever, wherever you're at. The relationship that exists between the recruiter and the applicant is probably the most important piece if you want to be successful as a recruiter, right? If you're not committed to that applicant, guiding them to their process, you're going to lose. They're going to find a recruiter that's going to do that, right? They're still going to join. They're not going to you're going to lose them. The Army's not going to lose them, right? The Army's going to be
They're going to find someone else that's going to give
right?
that.
Yeah, they're going to find someone that's going to help them get there, right? So, but this is a people business. It's a relationship business. You got to be able to manage that between parents, applicants, your coworkers, your station commander, your subordinates, your superiors. You got to manage all those relationships. It's a business. Like, I don't want to steer away from you're not a salesman type call. Yeah, we're not salesmen. Salesmen have a product they get to sell. We get to sell an idea, and
Or yourself.
Yeah, well, you are definitely sell yourself in the interview. But the final product that they get to buy is this thing that you present to them that you can't touch, see, smell, feel, and then it's got to work out in their favor, right? So you're selling an idea, you're freedom, right? You're selling freedom, but it's not a car. You don't get to drive it. You don't get to test it out. You get to sign for it, and then you get to wait 3 to 6 months nowadays. You get to wait 3 to 6 months and go try it out and see if it's for you. Like, that's a lot of trust that a person has to put into you in order to take that leap. That's why the relationship matters, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing something on a whim. I'm gonna pack my bags. I'm gonna travel to one of 4 training installations. I'm gonna start a journey you're not gonna be there for, so I gotta trust that you're sending me to the place that's gonna train me. And then for the next 3 to 6 years, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, that's a trust. So yeah, relationship building is probably the most important thing that we probably don't harp on enough. Especially when it comes down to, you get down 3rd brigade. When I was up there, Midwest, you harp on it a lot because you don't get to see a lot of people, right? So if it walks through the door, I needed to stay, I needed to join the Army, I need them to go ship the training, I need everything that comes on here. We move so fast in 2nd Brigade because the volume is so much higher that you risk it a little bit on the relationship side, because, I had 6 recruiters in the station that I ran in Mansfield, Ohio, and they were working maybe 3 to 5 applicants apiece. I have 48 recruiters now. At one point in time, we had 75 detailed recruiters on the streets here, and they're working 6 to 10 applicants apiece, right? You can't be 100% dedicated to all those people every single day of the week. So, it's hard. It's hard being a recruiter. It's probably the hardest job I ever had in the Army. I was, infantryman in Afghanistan, Iraq. Like, yeah, that job's easy. This is hard.
Why do you think being a recruiter was the hardest job you had in the Army?
It's mentally harder.
Why is that?
You got to deal with a lot of rejection up front that you're not used to, right? When did I come out of recruiting? Like 10 years in to the Army. Like, not a lot of people told me no by that time. Like,
Well, you were super successful.
I was a sergeant at 2.5 years in the Army, and I've worn stripes ever since then. So it's like, no one told me no, and then you get on the phone with Mr. Smith or Miss Jackson, and it's just, yeah, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to do this. So you deal with a lot of rejection, a lot of failure right up front of recruiting, and that can be hard for someone that's just found nothing but for success for the last 10 years, right? It was hard for me, personally, like, just being like, no, call, no, like, Jesus, like, I'm not good at this. Like, this sucks. I need to go back to the infantry, go back to where I'm comfortable. But once you embrace that discomfort and you get away from that and you say, I'm going to learn something new, I'm going to set some goals, I'm going to be successful at this, then it kind of just changed the whole mind game. It said, screw it. Like, you're in here, you got to be successful, you got to figure this out. And then I just made more phone calls. Right? Like, that's the tagline to recruiting. Just make more phone calls.
How did you deal with the rejection stuff early on? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I kind of probably pulled back, I guess, a little bit. The calls got more spaced out, and you just didn't want to deal with it until I made that shift where it was just game on. And then rejection happened. It was just, no, now it's time to find the yes, and I don't care how many phone calls I got to make. I'm going to find yes. On my nose I got to go through, but we're just going to find yes. That's probably, yeah. I mean, I pulled back on rejection at first and then just jumped right into it. I don't remember too much detail about. I never beat myself up too hard. No.
Do you remember the moment where it all started clicking?
No. There's how many people have joined the Army since then. I don't remember the exact moment. It just did, and it made sense. And I read some books, and I think self-development was kind of lost in recruiting sometimes. We get sent our ways. I went to the school, right, at Fort Knox, and they told me this is all I have to do, and it's like, you might want to read something else, right? There's so many books out there and so many different podcasts and so many different people that'll tell you kind of how to market yourself and how to interview and how to just communicate with people in general to kind of guide someone where you're trying to get them to go to better your chances of getting to yes, right? I don't want to say like we're out here manipulating people, but if you can make that conversation comfortable and you can tell them about, you can show someone how successful you've been and they can match that story, you're probably going to find someone that wants to join the Army and follow in your footsteps. Your mentor, your counselor, your leader. Lead the people, right? Cross the line. Be good to go.
I appreciate you listening to part 1 of our conversation with First Sergeant Cousino. Join us every Thursday during lunch for the workshop on Discord, and stay tuned for next week's closeout and part 2 of the conversation. Thank you for listening to the call. I just want to give a huge thank you to the people who supported this podcast early on. Thank you to Tori Van Dunk, Willie Hand, Mahalia Maynard, Rachel Binsky, Emily Wiesman, Matthew Hand, Vicki Anna Perkins, Stratos Scanlon, Mike Schilling, Nick Soviak, and Mark Lacqua. Your support helped get this thing off the ground, and I genuinely appreciate all you believe in this project from the beginning. And if you requested a signed headshot, those are coming out shortly. Thank you all again. I'm Jay. We'll see you next time.